I saw Tiger, now I understand. I saw Tiger, and Tiger saw man. That was a song from the Tiger King, and unlike the Tiger King, I just sang it myself. Welcome to Jivin with Jack. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and genders all across the spectrum, to today's episode of Jivin' with Jack. Today we have a special one for you because remember on Tuesday we were going to talk about the plane ride from hell and what Ric Flair did, and we ran out of time. Well, as promised, we are going to start the show about what Ric Flair did. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, even if you don't watch wrestling, the juicy details are juicy, for lack of a better word, and you'll want to stick around to hear about it. Plus, we are going to talk a little bit about Britney Spears. We're going to, in fact, watch the trailer for the new documentary for her Netflix series. Is it a series? Is it a documentary? I don't know. That's why we're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it. Plus, we're also going to jump in, if time permits, into Gabby Petito and what's been going on with her. It's kind of pop culture. It's sensationalism. Is it cheap to talk about it? Yes, it is, and that's exactly why we have this show. But we're also going to talk about the Tiger King. It's getting a second season. Is it a cash grab? Because we kind of know everything there is to know. But we're going to talk about it because we do like drama. Plus, a little bit of update with Eddie Murphy and a deal with Amazon. And Fantastic Beasts gets a new release date. Speaking of Fantastic Beasts, Johnny Depp, who is not going to be in Fantastic Beasts 3, has something to say about culture, cancel culture. Blech. See, this is what happens when I don't have Austin with me. So let me bring in Austin Lean. What? Hey, Des, how are you? Oh, I think I muted you. Hold on, that was my fault. There, now say hi.
Hi.
Hi. So Austin is here, and he's going to be joining us in a few seconds. But I thought I'd bring Des. For those of you who remember, Des did a wrestling segment with me a couple of weeks ago where we talked about AEW and CM Punk and Becky Lynch coming back. But I thought you'd be perfect to kind of talk about that with. So how have you been?
I've been all right. Not much going on. It's actually, it dropped 30 degrees today here in Georgia.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So we were a little shocked. But other than that, not much going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically nothing has changed since the last time I lost 3 pounds. That I did do. I lost 3 pounds. I've been trying to, exercise. So I got like 34 more to go. But, hey, it's a start. We do have a giveaway, but I'm going to here it is. Here's Austin. I'm going to have Austin do all of what we call the house cleaning. So let me bring in Austin Lean, the man with the golden.
What is up, everybody? What is up? What is up? Hi, Des. Good to see you. What's up, everybody? Sorry, I'm late. I know had a long, busy morning, but I am here. So that is what counts, right?
That is what counts. So Since you are late, you get the job of telling everyone about our memberships and our Justice League giveaway.
Sounds good. Yeah, guys.
Dumping it right at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, guys. Well, as you all know, thank you so much for watching, for tuning in right now. It means the world to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more cool content like this. But as always, we want to give a shout out to our members of the channel. Do we have is the graphic?
Yep, there it is.
Oh, wow, the graphic's in here today. Yeah. All right, so we got Saggy Melons, Benson's, Recross Swain, DC Talk with Extended, Adam Silvestri, That One, Carlos, Resident Justice, Billy Robert, Nick Carr, John Rodell, Justin Hines, Kinky Sphincter, my favorite name, Caden Reed, Sean Adame, Nick DePalma, Jack S, T-Rob, and Alien LV1023. And Roblox, I know Roblox should be on there. Shout out Roblox. Guys, thank you so much for being members. And again, guys, remember you can join the membership starting at $2.99, goes all the way up to $9.99. It means a lot. It just helps us do bunch of extra fun stuff for you guys here on the channel, like events and things like this Saturday where we'll be covering Tadum for Netflix. So, and then also, don't forget, we do have our September giveaway, 2 copies of the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League on Blu-ray. We're going to be giving them out to anybody who joins the membership or who is already a membership or who is already a member. You'll be entered to win one of the 2 copies of Justice League's, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And with that, I think I did it.
There we go. So we are going to start with the plane ride from hell. For those of you who aren't wrestling fans, let me give you a little bit of detail. This happened in September of 2001. All right, this is when wrestling was at its peak. We're talking Austin, Rock. I think Mick Foley had retired at that point, but he was still kind of a recurring character. You had The Undertaker as the American Badass. You had a lot going on. And WWE had acquired WCW. And Ric Flair, who's arguably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, anywhere, WWE, WCW, NWA, had an incident. Now, before we get into the details, before we start, Austin, had you heard of the plane ride from hell before this documentary came out?
Yeah, so I wasn't a big wrestling guy growing up or anything, but I did hear about it, and I saw Vice did a nice little documentary on it and stuff, and so I filled myself in that way. But so I hadn't heard too much about it, but I've recently heard a lot about it.
Yeah. And then Des, I know you're a wrestling fan. I know that I had heard of it.
Yeah.
Like not all the details, but I had heard of it.
I didn't really know anything until I watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode. I just knew it existed.
Yeah. So here's what I did know. There are a lot of YouTube rumors about what may have happened, what might have happened, and then Vice did the documentary. What was the name of the stable that had Triple H and Ric Flair in it? Was it called the Nexus, or am I making that up?
Yeah, that's a different stable.
Okay,
was
a
that
different
Evolution?
stable. Evolution. Okay, so I think they inducted Evolution into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and at that induction speech, Triple H made a joke like, "Put that thing away, Rick," and everyone started laughing. And I'm like, "Wait, did Rick get naked during the plane flight?" So, for those of you who don't know, basically, the WWE was doing a European tour, and they were flying from London back to the United States. So you have all these wrestlers, all the big stars, up in the main up in the front. You got Vince McMahon, you got the top brass. They're sitting there, and the wrestlers are all in the back. Before they took off, they waited 7 hours, and apparently went through 3 tray tables of liquor before they took off. And there were drugs involved, there were pills involved, and lots of alcohol. So
Wall Street style.
it was this you know what, this kind of reminded me a little bit of the Wolf of Wall Street. But we got a couple of actors in here. There's apparently a huge fight. Apparently Michael Hayes pulls a prank on Brock Lesnar, and these 2 guys start going at it like 32,000 feet in the air. They knock into the emergency door of the ring, and everyone's freaking out because like that might open the plane up. Goldust gets drunk and starts singing terribly over the microphone. And apparently, now this is the big revelation we find out, is that the Nature Boy himself, Ric Flair, does this thing where he takes off all of his clothes, and a trigger warning, gets naked underneath his rope, and does, I guess, a helicopter with his equipment. Trying to make sure we don't get demonetized here. All right? He does it, and the guys get a kick out of it. But, and I got some screenshots, not of that, but screenshots of the reenactment. Basically, and this is, I think, Tommy Dreamer saying there's blankets, pillows, drinks, cups, food stepped on. So this is a reenactment of Ric Flair doing it. Of course, it's not actually them. Apparently, they're getting a kick out of it. But at some point, he spins around like a helicopter. Here we go. And this is the part that is kind of making waves in wrestling. One of the people in the documentary is a stewardess, one of many stewardesses, but unfortunately she took the brunt of this. He apparently went into the galley and exposed himself to her while doing the helicopter. And if that's not going far enough, he apparently grabbed her hand and tried to get her to touch him there. And well, you could say, well, this is rumors. Maybe she's trying to make money. This is verified and corroborated by a couple of other wrestlers who were on the plane. Ric Flair said that, I don't remember this happening. I've already talked about this. I don't think it's happened. Blah, blah, blah. Right off the bat, him taking his clothes off and dancing naked or whatever, to me, it was like, that seems like something Ric Flair would do. But this part, huh? Yeah, well, yeah, I know. But like, I was like, this, like, just him getting naked, probably. Like, what? It sounds like something he might do. But this, I mean, this is kind of like, I mean, he like I said, he's a legend going back to the 70s. It's absolutely inexcusable. And I know some of the other wrestlers like, he was just being a guy. He was trying to be funny. But I was kind of shocked when I heard that, like that part. Like, wow. And it does kind of, at least in my opinion, puts a huge stain on his reputation. And we know that WWE, when you kind of cross lines like that, kind of cut ties with you. Hashtag Hulk Hogan. Although he did come back. Des, what was your, like, when you heard that story? Because you've been watching him for many years.
All right. So in the documentary, the stewardess kind of says, like, this was the part that made me the most uncomfortable. And I was like, I'm uncomfortable just hearing this.
Yeah.
So I still feel like she was probably playing it. But yeah, just as a woman, like, if I'm trying to just do my job and like, I'm sure she's handled drunk sportscasters or sports athletes before, considering that was the company. They specialized in basically helping sports teams to travel. But like, if I'm just trying to do my job and I, like, one, feel trapped, and two, like, am being exposed, like someone's exposing themselves to me, I probably would sue as well. Like,
I mean, and she actually goes ahead and she says this went on for a couple of minutes. It wasn't like 10, not that I mean, but like this goes on for a couple of minutes. She was like trapped down there, and again touching her, and then trying to, like, maybe even as a joke. Come on, like, it's like ooh, and apparently she kind of gives props. And it's funny the way she's like, someone named Gold Dust. Apparently he's the one who like got on the mic and said, "Stop it." I'm like, well, there you go, Gold Dust. But then at the time, Gold Dust was married to Terry Runnels, and she says that stuff like this happened. Maybe not like that, but she said if I had like $1 for every time guys got like that. And you see the sort of horror on her face. She's like, these are very big people, We watch them on screen and we're like, oh, they look like, they're big guys. But like when they're on a plane, a chartered plane that's usually a little bit smaller, and they're fighting each other and pulling pranks on each other and doing stuff like this, it's very scary. How do you stop, a bunch of big burly men beating each other up, horsing around? Yeah. But what was interesting, at the end of the documentary, Jim Ross said that, look, we had to let some guys go because of this incident. And then they ask him, well, what about Ric Flair? And you literally see, like, Jim Ross, like, he's a big fan.
He didn't want to admit. It was.
Yeah, he didn't want to admit, yeah. So Justin Hines says it does tarnish his rep, but it doesn't really surprise me. So, like, him, like, getting naked, I was like, that sounds like something I could imagine Ric Flair doing. He's known as a party animal, a womanizer, that type of thing. But, like, this is, like, a whole other thing. And you're right. She does mention, like, she's taking celebrities and sports stars. Like, there's a level of behavior that's expected. Again, I don't even think that's permissible. But what's interesting is he is rumored to go to AEW. And I personally think that is right out the door.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to AEW, I don't think, anymore.
At the very least, if he does, it'll be, months or years from now. They'll wait till it goes over.
Exactly. So integrity, this actually is a Me Too. So basically, if you want to rewind, he exposed himself to a what do they call stewardesses?
Yes.
I think is that the right term? Stewardesses. a stewardess, and then try to get her to touch him. And I'm like, now, here's what happened. He put out a statement, if I can find it right here. He says the allegations never happened. But when you have people like Tommy Dreamer and other wrestlers saying it did happen, and they remember it happening, it doesn't look good for him. And yeah, and so Prakash is saying, I don't think Tony Khan is going to hire him now.
The way he responded,
almost
sounded like he wanted to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
It was almost a ramble.
Yeah. I mean, he came out and he was kind of like, well, I know what really happened, and I'm not going to say what really happened, but I know what really happened. And everybody's like, well, we kind of now need to know what really happened because there's some pretty serious shit involved here. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's it seems like if there's a fight coming, he's prepared for it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So I do have a statement here. It's a little bit, it is rambling, so I'm going to try to read through it as quick as I can. Here we go. So this is how it starts. Every person that I've worked with has said not to post a response, but I've never run from past behaviors before, and I'm not going to start now. I want to clarify a few things. About 4 years ago, I gave ESPN full access to my life for a 30 for 30 special. They cover taxes, financial issues, adultery, divorces, the passing of my child, and drinking, partying at length. Okay, so real quick, right off the bat, I like how he kind of like, this is kind of smart PR. We're like, hey, this is what you know I've done. Mm-hmm. It's almost like he's kind of buttering you up, like, what do you think was going to happen? Like, that's who I am. Like, he's like, hey, what'd you expect, kind of a thing. Rory Kampf, desperate to matter for another 15 minutes, did an interview about it this morning. When Rory's lips are moving, he's typically lying, but one part of what he said was the God's honest truth. Who's Rory Kampf? Was that in the documentary? I'm trying to remember who that is.
I don't think he was.
I'm trying to see who Rory Kampf is. I guess maybe that's this person who did the documentary or was doing the interview, maybe. I don't know, because he's not in it. Anyway, so let's keep going right here. Jerry says, I'm glad these celebs are getting okay. I'd never heard that he had forced someone to touch his genitals, Karpf admitted. Trigger warning, folks. Quote, everything with Rick that was construed as negative, I tried to address in the 30 for 30. His drinking, his philandering, his adultery, his money problems. There's quite a bit. But never, at least in the people that I spoke to, no one ever brought up that he would force himself on somebody. I just want to add this right in here. The stewardess did say she didn't feel like that he was trying to do that. I don't want to use the starts with R. Yeah. But she still felt heavily uncomfortable. I mean, so that's not the issue.
And I mean, yeah, she took WWE to court over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here we go. I allowed my personal life and the lives of my wife and children to be turned upside down for one reason. Whether it's good or bad, even the really bad, the truth has to matter, even in wrestling. And this is kind of weird. He's still not addressing the incident yet. Here we go. Let me go. My issues have been well documented over my 40-plus year career. The impact of drinking too much, which nearly killed me 5 years ago, has been told time and time again. The reason Rory or anyone else for that matter never heard stories of me forcing myself on anyone is simple. It never happened. So this is sort of like clever. Like, she never said, well, I mean, I guess, how do I put it? She never said like he was trying to like, assault her like that, but still it was wrong, like taking her hand and everything. So I think he's saying, well, that's not what happened. Like if it's like saying, like, let's say I went to Austin's wallet and I stole $5 and Austin confronts me. I'm like, I have never taken hundreds of dollars out of anyone's wallet and things like, yeah, but dude, you took the $5. I've never taken hundreds of dollars.
Right.
I think that was very carefully crafted. He actually never denies or addresses her. Mm-hmm. But what he does say, like, yeah, I'm drunk. I'm like Tony Stark in the first Iron Man. Like, yeah, what do you think happened? And,
right, yeah. Basically gives it away there.
I don't think. Well, do you guys remember? Not to get into off tangent, but what happened with Hulk Hogan? There was a leak tape. He said a certain word and everything. WWE cut ties with him. Then enough time passed. There was some kind of apology tour, whatever. They brought him back. I don't think Ric Flair is ever going to be in a WWE ring again. At least I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe he should. I don't know.
I think it's kind of suspicious that he was fired, like, as a legend or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess like 3 weeks ago. So I'm wondering if they
Ooh.
kind of knew this was coming.
Oh. Was he fired or was he like let go? I mean, I know they always
Not sure. Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, I'll have to look at the announcement. I don't know if they said that the whole "we wish you the best in your future endeavors" thing.
Yeah. Well, here, you know what? It's possible because Vince has a tight circle. There were a lot of wrestlers, and I think they had Ray Kyoto, the referee, talking. Someone must have told Vince this was coming.
Yeah.
Someone must have been like, "Hey, Vince, like this thing is coming out," and
better start doing
Jim Ross, who's the commentator, who's now an AEW commentator, who was the commentator in charge of talent relations, is admitting it happened. You might want to let Rick go. And what's also kind of awkward, his daughter is like one of the top talents in I mean, and that should not affect her, in my opinion. Like, I don't think people should take out anything on her because she's a superstar, But I think he's done.
Yeah.
Because I know they were talking about like inducting how many did they ever induct the Four Horsemen into the Hall of Fame? They did. They did Evolution.
2012 or so. Yeah, they did Evolution. I think Ric Flair is the first wrestler to have been inducted 3 times into the WWE.
So he's been inducted on his own too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so he's inducted. He's not really wrestling anymore. I don't see any reason why because WWE, we know this, like back in the 90s, 2000s, it was kind of like, the Attitude Era, DX, everything, has been very family friendly for the last 10, 12 years, is it?
Yeah, I'd say about that. Like, probably right after I started watching, because I know I started watching at like the tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah. I mean, they had a segment where I think Edge and Lita were in bed together on stage, and I'm like, ugh.
Was that like 05 or so? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I don't know when that was, but here we go. Our producer's pulling this up. Ric Flair was released by the WWE back at the start of August. So, okay, about 6 weeks ago. And reports quickly emerged that the 2-time WWE Hall of Fame requested his release over frustrations with how WWE was booking Charlotte Flair. I
thought that sounded fishy. So.
Yeah, because I would say she's still the top. She's still champion, or did she just lose her championship?
No, she's still champ. She's fighting Alexa Bliss on Sunday.
That's right. So the pay-per-view. I was going to say, so she's like if there's anyone they're not handling right, I don't think they know what to do with Becky Lynch right now. But the Nature Boy denied there being any issues when he released his initial statement about the release and echoed that sentiment while on Renee Paquette's oral sessions this week. Quote, I had a bunch of pending opportunities, AEW. I have things I was doing currently at the time. I signed my contract. They allowed those. Wendy got to keep her shop. These are big things. I got to keep Cameo and a couple of other things. A couple of deals were coming along to the point where I was asked him. I probably exhausted my grandfather. Okay.
Right.
There's no animosity.
Cameo is really taking up a lot of his time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he's The Rock. It's like, I got a lot of movies to do. Flair also addressed the speculation that he might join his future son-in-law, Andrade El Adilo. Is that what's his name? What was he in WWE? Almas or something?
No, it's Andrade Almas. Yeah.
Is he still called that in AEW? Because I saw him wrestle. Yeah. Okay, all right. That's right. Him and Charlotte were dating for a long time.
They're engaged.
They're engaged. Okay. So Andrade Overall Elite Wrestling. Okay. He mentioned he hasn't had any conversations with AEW President Tony Khan, which doesn't mean he hasn't talked to AEW. They probably have like middlemen going back and forth. Then added, hypothetically, if I wanted to go work at AEW, I would go to Vince and say, I want to do this. I want to get back in the ring, and I know you don't like that. If I want to get knocked down or something, he would say to me, ultimately, what's best for you is best for me. He also didn't shut down the idea of possibly getting back in the ring one last time, something he's been seemingly teasing on social media. Listen, all my life, Ric Flair was old. He was wrestling in the 90s.
For real.
He's 72, so he's older than my dad. I mean, so when he was fighting Hogan in WCW, like in 94, 95, he was I guess he was in his 40s then, maybe. Yeah. But he kind of always had that old man dad bod. Like, he was in shape, but he wasn't like, you know.
I'm just, why would you want to get in the ring at 72 years old? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
He cannot be hard up for money. Like,
I think it's an addiction. I think he just doesn't know what to do next. I mean, I don't want AEW to do what WCW did, which was get everyone from that side. But anyway, I think this is all out the window. And I think Tony Khan right now, who owns AEW, they got a good thing going. And the last thing they want is this kind of controversy. I have no doubt that there were talks happening, maybe not with Tony Khan, but with people within AEW and him. It would be a boost for them. Like, hey, look, we got the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! And I think he's done. I think WWE would be smart never to bring him back. And if they do, maybe in 20 years, but this would still be kind of like a mark on them. Like, hey, yeah, you're kind of – did you guys – I know, Des, do you know what happened with Jimmy Snuka, Austin?
I don't.
Okay, so Superfly Jimmy Snuka was in an incident where his girlfriend was found dead, possibly beaten up. This happened in the 80s. And I think they did a Dark Side of the Ring of this too, right?
they did, yeah.
So what happened? Did Vince's lawyers go there? I forget. Like, did Vince's lawyers get there first or something happened?
Yeah, like, police did not, they didn't find her right away.
Yeah. And it was basically kind of swept under the rug. I remember, I think Vince McMahon sent lawyers to, like, whatever. Anyway, decades later, right before he died, everything kind of came out. And he was I think he was on trial, wasn't he, right around the time he died?
Yeah, I think they tried to put him on trial for, like, third-degy murder or something.
Okay.
Wow.
But, yeah, he passed while that was going on. However, they still mention that Tamina Snuka, who is currently a wrestler
His daughter.
in WWE, is his daughter. So they still name drop him.
Well, I guess maybe it's easier because he's because he's dead. But like, if he were still alive and the trial was happening, like former WWE wrestler Jimmy Snuka might have killed his girlfriend in the 80s, and there were all of these stories regarding WWE, especially in the 80s and the 70s.
Oh God. Yeah.
There were stories about what's his name? There's Pat Patterson. Have you heard some of the stories about him? And young boys, and he got caught, and they were like, yeah, well, Chris Benoit, you can't even mention his name. You can't even mention Chris Benoit. But WWE has had a history, especially in the 80s when cocaine was rampant, of covering this type of stuff up, protecting their stars. I think the time has changed. The era has changed. Like, whether Rick meant to do it or not. Well, listen, you guys have seen me drunk.
Right.
Yes, look at Dad smiling. but like, if something like that happens, like, you can't like that is going too far, Yeah. I'm not saying I would defend him like doing the helicopter in the aisle, but then like I'm like, okay, that's kind of douchey. Just apologize. But it kind of reminded me of like sort of like when I was in college, I was asked to join a fraternity, and I was not a huge fan of that type of stuff, like streaking and like doing stupid stuff like that. And I don't know if I haven't been in college in a long time, but like, I don't know if that culture still exists, but like that kind of, there was an incident in one of the dorms when I was at LaSalle, but I was a commuter. So I was not there when this happened. Mm-hmm. Middle of the Saturday, some guy goes streaking through the common areas of the dorm. Oh, and a lot of people thought it was funny, but there were a couple of girls there. They're like, nope, we're reporting that to whoever the guy who runs the dorm is. They have a name for that person, don't they?
Right.
I don't know what
it is. The RN. They reported to the administration, and those guys got in a lot of trouble. And I'm like, well, now there's a very much possibility that they would have laughed too. Like, the girl's like, haha, that's funny. But that type of stuff, and I never understood streaking. I don't get why anyone would do it. I've never done it. But like that type of thing happening, when you hear what happened with Ric Flair, it's like, well, of course he thought he could do that. And I'm guessing that's probably not the first time he's probably done something like that, or other wrestlers in that era did stuff like that.
As you were saying, he was already an old man by that point. He probably would be doing it for like
exactly. He's like, I'm in my 50s. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of a crazy story, but WWE has been kind of silent on this. I don't think they've given out any statements or anything, have they? I think they've been like tight-lipped. They're like, they can be like, hey, we got rid of the guy.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see like how, because I mean, Brock Lesnar's back.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the story with Brock was that he got into a fight after someone pulled a prank on him, which was very dangerous. But I was kind of like, yeah, why would you do that to Brock Lesnar? Michael Hayes, you're 50-something years old at that point. So this is Michael Hayes, and this is who you picked on. And he's older here, by the way, so he was even younger and angrier. Like, it was like, okay, so basically this is the prank they did. Brock Lesnar was sleeping, and they put like whipped cream or shaving cream on his head while he's sleeping, and then like that.
Yeah.
And Brock Lesnar, who's 6'4", who's 6'4" and like 250, 60 pounds, a UFC fighter also, champion. They start fighting. Now that is inexcusable. But like on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, compared to what Rick did, like I don't see Brock getting in trouble for this. If anything, that adds to his mystique. It's like, oh yeah, that's Brock Lesnar. You mess with Brock Lesnar, you get beat up on a plane. Now again, that doesn't excuse it, but I think
he was probably reprimanded in his own way back in the day. Like, again, we don't know.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see that footage of Brock Lesnar after a match? I don't know what it was. They had a backstage camera, and it was filmed afterward. He just takes his title and throws it at Vince McMahon and like walks away. Have you seen that footage? You're like, uh-oh. And then Vince McMahon's like, hey, a-hole. Like you can tell that wasn't a scripted moment. Have you seen that footage?
I have not, but I'm gonna.
Oh my God! Apparently, for some reason, he was ticked off at Vince McMahon, and he walks into the back. Vince, you have like it's almost like a studio, Austin, where you have like cameras and guys on headsets, talking. He just walks in, and these titles are heavy. Like he throws it at Vince and walks off. Vince is like, hey, and you're like, so. I think Brock Lesnar is probably not going to get in trouble for this. But like, yeah, I think Rick is done.
Probably.
Like, do you foresee, like, well, Des, you watch it. Could you see him coming back in like 10 years? Well, I don't know if he's gonna be alive in 10 years.
I
but
was
like,
gonna say that's highly doubtful. He'll be.
But like in the future, like that, even like acknowledging him if he passes. They do those little video tributes and stuff.
I think they have to.
Yeah.
It's hard to. They can't like. They did bring back Hulk Hogan after.
They did, but like they got to put this in the video tribute too. This footage right here.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Just like helicopter. Just show like a helicopter flying. Just do you think this affects Charlotte Flair at all?
We'll see Sunday, I think.
Could you imagine if they take the title away from her and like try to get her like
just take her off TV for a few months,
Yeah.
But that's not fair. I mean,
exactly. I don't think that's fair at all.
It's not fair, but that's backstage politics for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an incident with Steve, and I love Stone Cold, but there was an incident, which his wife said had to do with a steroid abuse where he did hit her, and he hasn't talked much about it. Apparently, it was one incident. And she blamed it on steroids. That was her. Like, she divorced him. She said he was taking a lot of steroids because I think he hit like 35, 36. Again, that doesn't excuse it. But like WWE apparently worked really hard to kind of make sure that didn't get too many headlines. And it's a shame because I think Charlotte Flair I think she's more talented than her dad was in terms of athletic ability. She's got charisma. She's got charm. She's got the physicality. And she's been top for like 5 years now, I think, right? So she came around 2014 or so, right?
I'm trying to remember because she was on top in NXT for a while too.
Oh yeah, even before that, yeah.
I'm trying to remember when she and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch all came to the main roster.
I think it was 2015 because that's when I started rewatching again, and I remember at that time she was a good guy, and then when she became a bad guy, I'm like, okay, so 4 years you're the top, you're called the queen, everyone loves you or they love to hate you. I hope she doesn't get, like Austin was saying, like repercussions for this,
Right.
Yeah. But so let's see what happens. It'd be interesting if she does lose the title on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because my thought was like, she's not losing the title. That's just the next story,
Yeah, because I mean, are we? Yeah, are they really gonna put the belt on Alexa Bliss right now? Like,
I don't know. I was always an Alexa Bliss fan.
yeah, I mean, she's definitely underrated. I'm just still wondering why they're like stuck on this storyline with her. Like, even though Bray Wyatt's gone, like,
Yeah, well, maybe it's her thing now. Let's jump into the comments. So Percat says Charlotte is leaving WWE. So have you heard those rumors? I don't think she would leave. She's too big.
I was gonna say that is that's one of like a huge moneymaker for her. I'm sure she brings in like $1 million a year, but her fiance is in AEW, so
yeah. But I don't think she would get in trouble with that, because that did happen where there was a wrestler named Rusev. I don't know what his new name is, but
Miro.
He was in WWE. Miro. He was in WWE. He was in AEW. Lana was still in WWE, and then Dean Ambrose was in AEW, and his wife was a commentator for WWE.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't think she would get, well, you never know. They might use this as an excuse to, she is insane. It shouldn't affect her. Says Jack, Dez got out of weird memory. I don't know what that means, Dez.
Gabe, could you clarify?
Yeah, clarify. We don't know what you're saying. And Jiggity Jiving with Jack. Yes. Kazuka, welcome. 92. I didn't even say hi to everyone. Prakash is here. Gabe the Bomber. Marlon. Eric was here on Tuesday.
Eric.
Yeah, Eric is here. Integrity is here. Justin Hines. I was talking to him last night. Mr. Jollymon. Austin, you go ahead and say that name. Mr. Jollymon Mistopheles.
Oh, Mr. Jollymon, MJ. That's MJ.
That's MJ.
Yep.
It's called MJ. So, all right. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a hot topic for a while. And I know that we'll be talking about here on Jivin' with Jack. Stick around. So, I know me and Austin have been talking about this. Des, I'm sure you've been following the whole Britney Spears sort of legal drama that's been going on, right?
What up, RJ?
Hey. Sorry, Des. I was you've been following this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Netflix is doing a documentary that's going to premiere next week. So this headline's from yesterday. I have not seen the trailer for this, and I was thinking, Austin, have you seen it?
I did. I'm very I'm very interested in the whole Britney thing, so I've been following.
Des, have you seen it?
I haven't seen the trailer. No.
Okay, because I'm gonna pull it up, and I usually when we play Warner Brothers documentaries or anything Warner Brothers related, we get hit with a copyright strike. But I think we should be fine. Unless they play like 20 of Britney's songs in the trailer.
No,
okay.
No, I don't.
I must confess.
No. It's pretty somber. It's pretty serious. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you never know. We might get sued by the Tiger King because I sang his song. I was like,
right.
That's damn Jack Sheriff up there in Philly. That'd actually be good publicity for us, dude. If we could get him to come on our show.
Oh my God.
Live from prison.
Live from prison,
right?
And we are going to get to Tiger King, but let's take a look at this documentary. When we started jiving with Jack, it was one of the few like non-geeky things that we started talking about. And again, I'm not saying that my show's taking credit for what happened, but yes, I am.
Dear God.
I want to make sure the here we go. The settings are high because I don't know why it automatically says there we go 1080p, and all right, let it load. But like, do you remember Des when she was in college? When we were in college around that time, people kind of got off on like her like meltdown. When she shaved her head and the famous crotch shot. Like people got a kick out of kicking her.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a huge supporter. Because I felt bad. Because I was like, she literally started as a child, and I was like, she probably just doesn't know how to live like normal life.
Kind of like Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, I don't excuse his behavior.
Real quick, Jack. That's not the trailer.
Oh, that's not the trailer. Oh, okay.
Nope.
As I said, I just had this on as a...
Hold on, I got
That's
you. You want me to pull it up? I got it.
Yeah, you pull it up because I'm terrible at these things. Damn it, Caden! No, I'm just joking. That was me. I pulled the wrong video up. But like, I remember like I was, I think I was a sophomore or whatever in college, and she shaved her head. The footage of her with the umbrella, like, people were kind of just getting off on her. South Park took her side. They did an episode of South Park where they killed Britney Spears, and they're like, now that she's dead, guys, we should leave her be. Yeah, let's leave her be, guys. And it's like, well, yeah, after, and they literally show her like her head missing, like that's how they're screwing her. Okay, cool. Here we go. Who pulled this up? Austin, you pulled it up?
Yep.
All right, cool. Here we go.
Ready?
5 days from now. Hold on. So, wow. So that is next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. You know what? Usually they come out at midnight, right? These documentaries?
Like 3 a.m. on the East Coast.
I'm gonna see if I can try to watch that, and maybe we can do a show about it on Tuesday because we do have. I do my shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay. And Austin's back. Let's get him.
I pressed the wrong button. My bad.
There you go. So just to clarify something, when it says Jamie, like my first instinct to think of is her sister Jamie Lynn Spears, but her father's name is also Jamie.
Jamie, yeah, that's her father.
And
Jamie, when they talk about Jamie Lynn, they say Lynn, Jamie Lynn.
Jamie Lynn, okay. Yeah, but apparently her sister didn't really play that great of a role in all this either.
No.
So I didn't know about this conservatorship when it happened, but like she's been doing albums, she's been touring this entire time, and if she is as, for lack of a better word, disabled, as they claimed, or either mentally or emotionally, she seemed to still do shows. She still seemed to kill it, and people made money off of her father. And I didn't realize this. So Austin, I think you had told me that she had been involved with Disney before, like all this.
She was a Disney child, man. She was a Mickey Mouse, Mouseketeer, with Ryan Gosling and Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
And Justin Timberlake, right?
And JT, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And you're right, and Justin Timberlake, yeah. All those guys all kind of grew up together, but she's never had a private life. Her specifically life has always been, I would say her and Christina too got the most, because I'll be honest, like, people and guys are jerks, and I think they make fun of them because their bodies or whatever, or they're not this, they're not that. And it's really, she never got just kind of any peace, I don't think. Probably for like her entire life. She's been in this since she was a little kid.
In defense of guys, it wasn't just only guys. Women were also criticizing her.
Yeah,
they were talking about her looks.
Everybody, absolutely. But I do mean too, being that young, you got to admit there are absolutely guys that sexualize her at a very young age, and that's not a good. Because the same guys that are writing these tabloids are usually dudes, and things like that. And
we had Jiving with Jack would never do that, and that is not. I did not pick these pictures.
Right, but no, I mean,
there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's different.
But how old was she when Baby hit?
Or like even
16 or 17.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think about it, she's probably not even 45 right now, so she's still really.
She's not even 40, I think. I think she literally just turned 40. Like when I was a kid, so I was in like 6th grade when that song came out. When you're 12 and someone is 17, I don't know if you guys experienced. They seem way older. Mm-hmm. Like I remember when I was like in 5th grade, 8th graders are so much older, or you're in 8th grade, high schoolers are so much older. So I mean, that video like changed my life. It helped me. I turning 12. But like in hindsight, you're an adult. You're like, damn, she was a kid.
She was a kid.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's obvious, Disney and all the people that she worked for.
Yeah.
Exploited her looks for money, as that's the business of Hollywood and stuff, but she was far too young for that, and of course that's going to lead to some psychological trauma and some issues and stuff. And so I'm not saying, look, there was probably a time that she needed help, she needed to step away and take a break and get her life kind of in order. That time was a long time ago. And you know, these guys have taken.
She didn't develop like the way a normal human being would develop in your 20s and your 30s.
Not even she just didn't have the normal development of a child. That's the thing. She didn't have a childhood. You know, and that's going to traumatize anybody.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so if she's 40 this year, and the conservatorships, like all of that, started 13 years ago, I think.
So she was still in her 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that freaks me out. Like she was way younger than I was at the time. Like,
yeah.
You know, this kind of makes me think about, you know, I was talking about Michael Jackson, some of the stories we hear about Michael Jackson, like when he was part of the Jackson 5 and how his dad would keep him up all night singing and dancing and screaming at him, you know, and that doesn't excuse his accusations or anything, but it's like that kind of messes you up because even outside the accusations, he was kind of weird. The way he spoke, the things he said, even if the accusations aren't true or not, we're not going to get into that, but like, that's got to mess you up. And I think at the time, look, he was one of the greatest pop stars of all time. He's considered the king of pop, you know, and she doesn't get, like, ever since Britney Spears, there have been so many great pop stars. Even now, like I love Olivia Rodrigo. I think her music is great, even if her writers ripped it off or whatever. There have been so many pop stars, but like to have yourself kind of, you know, to be the shiniest pearl in a sea of pearls, it takes a certain kind of talent, takes a certain kind of charisma. I mean, there were so many pop stars. I think Jessica Simpson came out around that. Christina Aguilera came out. Beyonce left Destiny's Child like maybe a year or two later. You had all these mega pop stars, and she still stayed relevant. And but you know what? Like, I watched that thing and I see the people chanting for her and crying for her, but like the same media. You know, and I'm going back to really enjoys media loves meltdowns and then they love building people back up because it tells a better story. But I'm like, how about we not do the meltdowns? Exactly. How about we don't, make money off Robert Downey Jr. in rehab for the 300th time prior to joining the MCU?
Real quick, I think exactly what RJ says, and he hits the nail on the head here. You know, people just got to leave Britney alone, let the woman live her life. I can't imagine all the mental and emotional damage done to her over the years because of the media, paparazzi. Probably we even know there's like weird obsessive fans out there. I can't imagine what she's had to deal with as far as that. Weird. Oh, Jack, I think your audio cut out. Jack?
Yeah, sorry, my mom called me.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Have you ever met my mom? I don't know if you met my parents.
I don't think I have.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to think if you've ever been to the house for a party or anything. No, you never met my mom. I guess not. But anyway, so that's off topic. But everyone knows, like, I'll be in the middle of the show. Like, yeah, John, we need something done. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the middle of the show. Yeah, so are you going to do it or not? Like,
yeah, right. Yes, I'm
Asian parents. They don't care. They're like, what's up? Let me tell you people something. Like, start yelling at the camera. He should be studying. But sorry, my mom just texted me. So anyway, or called me, and I was like, if I don't answer, she's gonna keep calling me. So but okay, so you know, there is something about, like, I think American culture and Hollywood, because a lot of times Hollywood will set the standard, and then other people will imitate it. I remember when I'm going back to the early '90s when I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember there was an episode of Full House where DJ was like 16 years old. You guys ever watch Full House?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she started putting on makeup at like 15. And the whole premise of the idea was like, dude, she's a kid. She shouldn't be doing that. And, you know, the dad kind of talked to her. He's like, sweetheart, you're 15 years old. You're too young to be wearing makeup. You know, that's something mature women do, and you're not there yet, blah, blah, blah. The lesson of the story is that the dad was right. Her Aunt Becky talks to her and says, look, you're young. You don't have to worry, but you have plenty of time to worry. Fast forward today, that episode seems so antiquated because when I was in grade school, girls started wearing, now it's common, but like the idea of girls putting on blush and makeup and, you know, lip gloss. And then when my sister went to grade school, they were doing it even younger. And I think to myself, like, there's something wrong about the way we kind of introduce these things to children as a society. Just in general, you know, I have no doubt music plays up. Like the music I grew up listening to was a lot more lewd than music was in the 80s, even though the 80s kind of had its stuff, was more lewd than stuff. And so when someone like Britney Spears comes around at age 17, I don't really. The only outrage I remember about Baby Hit Me One More Time was that I went to Catholic school and like, why is she wearing a Catholic school girl's outfit? Catholic schools girls aren't like that. I'm like, God, I hope they are. But I was like 12. But that was what the outrage was.
There's a perfect line between, innocent looking and sexy. Like,
yeah, but like the society as a whole was celebrating it. Like, here's this 16-year-old girl, attractive, hot, sexy. We can't wait till she turns 18. You would hear stuff like that. I remember Jessica Biel, who grew up on what was that show?
Oh, Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven, right? The day she turned 18, I think she did a spread for some magazine that I happened to peek at a 7-Eleven when I was a kid. But my point is, Hollywood kind of had this attitude like, hey, once they hit a certain age, that's what we want to see. And this is also around the time, look, say he's been a big free speech guy, but Howard Stern was kind of part of that culture of like, hey, take your top off while we're on set. And I'm all for doing whatever you want, but I can't deny that when I look at what happened to Britney Spears, that we as a society, especially in America, kind of foster that type of behavior, that type of look. On Tuesday's show, I said I don't think there's anything wrong with being good looking or attractive or sexy, but like, yeah, Austin's laughing because I said the MCU needs a little more sex in it, and he thought I meant like
actually, which by the way, I don't know if you heard, the Eternals got rated PG-13 for some brief sexuality. So there you go, Jack. You're gonna get some sex.
I'm gonna get some sex, And what I said was, I wasn't saying I was talking about like pornographic or anything, but I was like, I'd like to see more tension within the characters, and I think the Batman's gonna have it with Robert Pattinson. But anyway, my point was like, we were talking about how they changed the way women are drawn in comics and everything. That's where we're going, but. See, I forgot where I was going with this. But like,
it's okay to be sexy. Yeah.
It's okay to be sexy, but the way they did it with a lot, and look, we know about Britney, there were a lot of one-hit wonder girls, mostly girls, that, they try to do every lewd thing they could on stage. It didn't pass, and a lot of times it was based on their looks or whatever, and they were kind of treated like something you buy at a store, like, yep, I'm tired of this, I'm getting a new one. And I think something about our society says something that this was happening when she was a teenager. She got put in this conservatorship, and I think her parents played a role, her family played a role, music industry, but I think we as fans also played a role. She was only there for us to look like this, like that's it. We didn't look at her as a human being. And I think that we as a society still have to reevaluate the way, I'm going into a rant here, but like, this could be a Jack attack. That's a segment we do. But like, anyway, well, you guys say something now.
Yes.
I did.
Are you sure, Austin? Austin's like, I don't know if I agree with all of that.
I did see a comment going back a few minutes.
Okay.
About Amanda Bynes.
Yes. Yeah. I'll bring that up. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. She. I, as far as I know, she's been sober and just keeping out of the limelight. But yeah, exactly. This almost the same situation. Just wasn't legally under lock and key, but her parents definitely had to step in.
And then Marlon makes a good point. Amanda Bynes had similar problems. The Disney machine is sick. The executive managers, enabling parents, all of them prey upon them. And this goes back all the way to Judy Garland, and some of the hell she went through. We're talking about the Wizard of Oz now. We're talking about pre-World War II. That's how long ago that was. Wait, she has a conservatorship too?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, Amanda Bynes, yeah, she's in a conservatorship too.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yep. I don't know the details and stuff. I know she had a little moment as well. And, went off and was involved with, drugs and all that type of stuff and all, but I think that's what led. Yeah, Lindsay Lohan.
And interesting, Justin mentions the Olsen twins. They have been completely they've gone full J.D. Salinger. You will not see them anywhere. They have a clothing line. They don't want to be in TVs or movies. They were asked to do the Fuller House show, and they were sorely missed. I really wish one of them had a cameo as Michelle, because Michelle was my favorite character in Full House. No, they're done. You can tell something happened, and they're done with Hollywood. I mean, they have their clothing line. They make their money, fashion shows. That's it. They're fashion designers. They do not want anything to do with the limelight. And Lindsay Lohan, by the way, people forget, a talented actress. Like people say, oh, she's not just a pretty face. Going back to a child actor, she did a movie called Bobby, which I thought was one of her best performances.
Okay, I'll give you that. Child actress, she's great.
Yeah. What?
I'll give you that. Child actress, she's great.
But basically, this movie Bobby, it's about the night Robert Kennedy was killed, and she marries Elijah Wood because Elijah Wood is about to get drafted. They're right out of high school, and if he marries her, she marries him kind of out of sympathy. Like, all right, if I marry you, it might decrease your chances. And she's really good. It's a great role. I'm like, oh, this is like 2006, 2007. And again, that's someone else, Lindsay Lohan, who has gone through horrible stuff. And I think people get like a smile on their face. Like, look at that meltdown. Look at that person. Right. I'm not going to deny it. Not me now, but like when I was younger, I'm like, screw you, jerk. You know, like you see these people melt down because all you see is the image on the magazine. Yep. All you see is the picture or the YouTube video. And then when you see them being normal, you kind of get a little bit of glee, and this is, I think, part of just being human. People like, even in my church community, Austin, you're a churchgoer, there is that type of gossip. Oh, did you hear such and such family? Oh, their daughter did this. Ooh, I think she's pregnant. Like they kind of, the parents claim to be such good Christians, but look what their daughter does, stuff like that. And I think this stuff, unfortunately, is going to keep happening again and again. Today, it's Britney Spears. In 10 years, it might be Dua Lipa or, Olivia Rodriguez or, anyone like that. Or Camila Cabello, Elizabeth Olsen wore one of their dresses at the Emmys. Search Integrity says, Michael Laney, former Disney VP. The truth is right under our nose. Oh, do I have to get my tinfoil hat for this one?
Yeah, bro, that's a tinfoil hat conversation.
I still have it here.
Oh, God. Just ready to go.
I'm ready to go. But anyway, so Austin, I was thinking this comes out Tuesday night, 3 a.m. my time, 12 a.m. I might have to watch it the following morning, but I think this would be something worth watching and maybe take out notes on stuff we didn't know, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot in there that we don't know of.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be watching that for sure.
But our producer is telling us that he's the former vice president of Walt Disney, sentenced to more than 6 years in Portland, sex abuse investigation. Now, that's Disney.
Yeah. And then the one VP from Nickelodeon, trying to think, the one that was like obsessed with feet.
Oh my God, feet.
Dan
You're talking about
Schneider.
Tarantino? No.
Yeah,
Dan. Wait, Dan Schneider? Really? Oh my God, I know who Dan Schneider is. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, he got ousted from Nickelodeon.
Wow.
What? Being a creeper.
I you know what it is? I think it's the same thing. Like, I'm a Catholic with the priesthood. People who are like this go into jobs where they know they're going to encounter young children, young women. And let's not forget the guys. Stories of Elijah Wood, Corey Haim, and Corey Feldman, the stories as child actors that they have told. Mm-hmm. And you're like, dude, if I was them and I was rich, I would get like Ray Donovan. I don't know if you guys see that show, Ray Donovan. He's like the guy you hire to fix. I'm like, go kill that guy. Go kill that guy, Yeah. But like, there's something sick about that culture. I hate to say it. And Kate and Dan Schneider saying Caden's my producer, saying that Dan Schneider was outed for being a sex predator. And look, even more recently, R. Kelly.
Oh yeah, that's a whole.
I believe I can fly. You know what, R. Kelly, you can sue me for doing that. But here's the thing: they're enabled, and unfortunately, the parents are trying to make money. It seems like this conservatorship, above anything else, was about money. It was about like, hey, we can make a lot of money off our daughter. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about. I think her first 5 singles debuted in either number 1 or number 2 spot of the Billboard. Not even Beyonce has done that. So she's uber successful. She's just not another pop star. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick 3-second break, and we're going to get into some less controversial stuff. All right. Tiger King. We're going to talk about Tiger. Oh, I said less controversial. Oh, well. So did you guys hear who saw Tiger King, whether it came out or afterwards.
Who did I do? I saw the Tiger King.
Yeah.
Who did not?
Yeah, right.
Oh boy.
There was Jack. We were stuck inside for a year, and there was literally nothing else to watch. I had to watch Tiger King.
So, I remember a friend of mine was like, "Do you want to check out this Tiger King thing?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then after like the first episode, I'm like, "We cannot stop watching." Like we went through like, and again, this talks about what I was talking about. Like, yeah, crazy things happening. This has got to be something that I think can only happen in America, because apparently Netflix has announced that there will be a season 2 of Tiger King.
That's right.
So I don't know if you guys
from prison.
Last year they announced, after Tiger King kind of blew up, not just in the United States, but like across the world. People were like, damn, this is what America's like? Okay. All right. But like Netflix was like, we're gonna do a follow-up episode, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, there's gonna be another episode of Tiger King," and it was just Joe McHale. Joe
McHale talking to all the cast,
to the cast, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's not.
It wasn't really a continuation. That's what everybody was. I was hoping it would be. It's like, okay, we're gonna kind of follow up and see where's everybody at now, and all that type of stuff.
Did you hear that?
Also, they're doing like documentary, like full on real life documentary. Rob Lowe was playing with Rob Lowe and Kate McKinnon are one. Nicolas Cage was gonna do it on CBS, but they canceled that one. For Tiger
That's our
King,
producer, by the way, Des. Des, this is Kate. Kate, this is Des. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Rob Lowe and Kate McKinnon. Kate McKinnon's obviously playing Carol Baskin.
But not this, not in the documentary.
No, not in this.
No, we're talking about season 2 of the documentary.
I know what you're talking. But I'm just saying, like the other, like people are, like when Tiger King came out, like a month after, like people were like greenlighting, like there was 4 documentaries and like 3 of them got canceled. Or 2 of them got canceled. It was like something crazy. It's like the same thing with the whole GameStop thing. It was just like everyone's greenlighting movies and documentaries on it, like Netflix, like everyone was doing it. So it's just like it's one of those big cultural events that people are just like, let's make money off of it.
Right. And I was gonna say, I know they're doing a season 2. I feel like this might be a bit of a cash grab, because I don't know if there's anything else crazy they can tell us other than that people are expecting, it's going to be like season 1. We're going to learn more crazy stuff, like when the girl gets her hand bitten off by the tiger.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear that apparently, like on Trump's last day, he thought he was so sure Trump was going to give him a pardon.
Yeah.
And he got like a limo ready sitting outside.
Yeah.
Even my dad was like, "Oh, I hope they pardon him," and I was like, "Dad." He's like, "Well, it's kind of an entertaining character." I'm like, "Okay."
It's just funny because he's like this dude, random crazy dude. Like, isn't he like in a polynomial like relationship?
Yes,
with, like,
he with 2 other guys. Yeah. 2 of which were not gay.
Yeah.
You find out later, like
he apparently turned them gay. He's that was
apparently he used, and this is drugs.
He was gay. He was using it wasn't necessarily that. It was that these guys were drug addicts, and he provided the drugs, and they were totally cool with it. So it was a weird situation, but the guys were like they knew what they were in for. They knew, like, I'm getting drugs for sex type stuff. So like it was weird, but yeah, you're right. They never considered themselves gay or anything like that.
Yeah. And I think he got married a 3rd time while he was in prison to someone who looks young.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's in.
Was it Dylan or I forget what the kid's
name is.
Let me look.
Right. Yeah. And they've since announced that they're getting divorced and all that stuff.
But like, I wonder what else are they going to tell us? He's in jail.
Dylan Passage.
Dylan Passage. We know he's not getting out anytime soon unless they have some kind of appeal process I don't know about. But like, what else are they going to show us? Carol Baskin's life.
Well, and that's the thing. And then Carol Baskin already announced and said that they came back to ask her to talk, and she was like, no, because she felt betrayed from the last. She says, she's like, that. This is what I think it's funny. she says that the way it was presented to her the first season was that this was going to be the Blackfish of like tiger in encapturement in the U.S. and stuff.
Oh,
like
cool cats and kittens.
Right. That this was going to be the Blackfish, and that was going to be like a big cultural
expose on
exactly.
and cats.
Yeah, have you guys real quick? Have you guys seen Blackfish in the audience? It was about like SeaWorld and how they abuse these animals.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And how they
treat
it was all about how they treat animals in containment and in all that type of stuff. And so she was under the impression, which either the producers did straight up lie to her, I don't know, or she is horrible at understanding what she's getting herself into, I guess. Because nowhere in that did that come off as the Blackfish of
it's very much possible that's how it was going to start as, like, when you're making a documentary, you're like, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's so much more going on here.
I think the directors talked about that.
Oh, go ahead, Des.
Yeah, go ahead, Des.
Des, you said something. We kind of.
Did we lose you?
Did we lose you?
Oh, I was just saying they definitely touched on like the use of the animals.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they touched on it, but I think they even said the director said
it was like they're interviewing Carol and.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Des, can you hear us?
Des might be having some connectivity.
Des, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're back.
Yeah.
I was just saying, because I think if anything, attendance at these places is probably skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah. Like I think in the Florida one especially, like it was like I think they saw like 100% increase in ticket sales when in the middle of the pandemic.
I'm sure Carol Baskin's enclosure also saw a nice big boost too. So I mean, none of that came off as they did, right? And I think you're right. I think the directors talked about it, is like they did start this off as wanting to talk about the animals and encapturement and all that stuff, but they ended up finding so much stuff that it literally turned into a murder mystery, which the directors did not expect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right, but still, I mean, right.
Did you think he actually was plotting to kill her? Because basically, here's what happens: the weird dude who wears denim shorts in a bathtub says that the Tiger King, what's his name, Joe?
Yeah, Joe Exotic.
Yeah, Joe Exotic. Asked me to kill her, but even in the audio, it seems so hey, you'd kill her for me, right? He's like, yeah, sure, I can kill you. And I'm like, I don't know, if he actually meant it or if it was just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek conversation. That doesn't excuse
it's
the.
Like, haha, if I ever need you to.
Come on, he freaking meant it. He's insane.
Yeah.
Your dad has a point, right? He's an interesting character. Do I want to see more of him? A little bit, I'll admit that.
Yeah, me too.
Dude's absolutely insane. He was absolutely 100% thinking that, oh, there we go. She's back.
There we go. Des is back. There we go.
She's back. There we go.
Des, say something.
Roar.
There we go. Roar.
But
Des, it would have been perfect if you just said, "Hey, cool cats and kittens," just
yeah. Oh god. But no, I think he definitely had intent.
Yeah.
He definitely thought that he was gonna come back and be like, "Yeah, job's done."
When you have granted it was Trump, but when you have the president of the United States talking about it, and the media's like, "So, are you going to pardon him?" He's like, "I don't know. I'll have to see." It was Don Jr. who said that, and I was like, that would have been I would not have been surprised if he pardoned him. I'm going to pardon the Tiger King.
Hey, I wouldn't have been surprised that those two two peas in a pod. They could go live in Trump Tower together for all I care.
Could you imagine? I'm here in Trump Tower with my tiger, But these people, apparently Carol Baskin had been to Congress or something, and on one hand she was supposed to be the Blackfish aspect, these animals are mistreated, but she's kind of doing the same thing, maybe not to the level the Tiger King was, but she was kind of, also kept animals in cages and
Okay, you do have to consider that there is okay. When these tigers, when they're born, and you can only imagine how many are born in encapturement. It is almost more inhumane to put them in the wild because their chance of survival is little to none. They've been raised in encapturement. They've been raised in an enclosed area. They're not used to the wild. They're not used to hunting, surviving, attacking other animals, dealing with packs.
They're just being fed and
exactly. And so that's what Carole Baskin does is she takes the one any tiger that's already born in encapturement, that it's kind of like, all right, they're stuck in this life now. So they do have to, give it the best life that it can. But that's the reason. Otherwise she's totally for it. There should be no tigers here in America in encapturment.
Yeah. But apparently that was interesting to read, though, on the other hand. Like, there were more tigers in the United States than there are in the wild because of poaching and, like, hunting them for their fangs and stuff. And
I mean,
that shall not be named.
It's becoming a really big problem. It is. And you have, I don't know. I would hope that Carole's intentions are good. From the outside, it looks like, she's running a good operation and she's doing it for the right reasons. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research. But, it's kind of like some of these places are necessary because of, like I said, the survival of the animal. But people like Joe should not be in charge of those places.
No, he just makes a spectacle out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He uses it, and he uses it for the money and his own thing, and
do you guys think that she had anything to do with her husband's disappearance, or do you think that's just?
Oh yeah, she killed the dude for sure. Come on.
She's just
the way she got rid of him was due to
shady, like
oil and the tigers ate him.
She'd been planning, man. She's like, I know I got that tiger grinder in the back. We're gonna put this dude in there and get him all chopped up. And did
you see the interview they did with her, like, when it happened, like, years ago, and she's on the news? She's like, I don't know what happened to him. And I'm like,
psycho. She's psycho.
Yeah.
Here's the thing for me. The big kicker in all of that for me, and where I was like, oh yeah, she did it. Was the assistant of the husband.
Oh yeah.
That was like, she went and she changed the name because the husband had the assistant's name on the will, not Carole's.
The assistant.
And Carole, after the death, went and stole the papers from the assistant's office and changed all the information to.
Yeah, didn't she, like, in the will? Usually it says, in the event of my death, they added or disappearance, and then, like, their lawyers are like, no one ever writes about their disappearance.
Literally, they said nobody ever, when writing a will, goes, in the case of my death. Like, that's literally
in the case of my death or disappearance, I will give all my proceeds and things to blah blah blah. It's like no, I'll give anything. If I die, I'll give everything to my assistant.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so I definitely think.
And then
maybe she didn't do it, but maybe she pulled a Joe Exotic and had somebody else did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She hired
that's still a crime.
It's still a crime. Absolutely, no, she's still cray. But I mean, that's the thing. I think for sure she's involved. For sure, no doubt in my mind, she's involved in the disappearance of her husband.
I think her husband's children from a previous marriage didn't even get anything, like, which seems weird.
No, that's the other thing. And Carole was like mean to the kids to the first kids of the husband. Yeah. And that family, and they didn't get jack. They thought it was all really weird. It's a whole thing there. I think I definitely think Carole Baskin is a murderer. But
that's a murderer.
She went to the very extent to actually doing the job rather than just saying I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think she probably paid because her husband was wealthy. He was the rich one, and I don't know. I would I guess part of me and fed him to the tigers. He was going to kill her and fed him to the tigers. But I think the FBI tried to do like an investigation. They couldn't find his body, but then you have like a huge estate, like it's acres and acres.
And again, the meat grinder that they have, and they tried to even investigate that, and then it was just like they found something, but it was inconclusive. They it was just like, oh, it looks like this, but they went even deeper with it, and then it was just like nothing. So they were just like, we can't do anything about it now because it's nothing.
I'm kind of curious. I'm so curious. Well, how are you gonna do another season? I mean, like the way I look at it,
Unless the second
like,
season's about the full-on investigation and how
maybe
Joe is involved.
Maybe that could be it.
And didn't they sell off his farm?
His tigers. They all went to that other guy that I think it was Jeff, and then he recently went to jail.
Really? The guy looked like Jigsaw?
The U.S. government recently took over the enclosure, took everybody to jail. They took the tigers. All that was yeah. So
that guy was so creepy.
Oh, he was another one that you're like, dude, all these people are freaking murderers. What's going on here?
Like, and like he what did he do? Like he's like, we're trying to find like a nanny for the baby that both of us can sleep with. I'm like, okay.
I mean, hey, whatever's your kink, no judgment, but like
I judge.
The main thing about that was that it didn't even seem like he cared about his kid. He was just like, I'm trying to get it on, like, you know.
What was that line he said? I can't use the words, but he says use a little P word to get a lot of P word, like how they used to use like little kids. They put them in suitcases and take them up, and I'm like,
yeah. He's crazy. I'm glad he's gone as well.
And
I mean,
I
will say there was one guy in that series that my heart just broke for him. I don't know why, but it was that dude with the long hair. He was a very ragged looking dude. He had a history with drugs, but he hadn't been on them. And he had he would take care of the tigers in the mornings and at nights and stuff. And like he basically lived on.
Bit off?
I think he might have had an injury. I don't know. There was one that had their hand bit off and they were kind of younger, if I remember.
Yeah, they had the stump and they kept working.
Guy, he was older. He had long, kind of blonde hair and like missing teeth. You could tell from the drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
He apparently was like an actually really cool dude. And he like really cared about the animals. Apparently he stuck with the tigers that he was taking care of because they had a relationship with him and they just knew him. Yeah. He recently just passed away, unfortunately. Yeah. I read an article. People where he moved after Tiger King to take care of the tigers. The people said he was just absolutely one of the best guys because he just was. But they also said he had because of his past, he had a lot of PTSD and stuff. It was like he relied on the tigers to keep him out of trouble, to keep him in a good mindset. So it was just a very like healthy experience for him. And that whole Joe Exotic thing just kind of probably wasn't the best for him either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just attracts people.
Yeah, because it's like not everybody there at that enclosure was terrible. Obviously, this guy cared about the animals, wanted to do the right thing. I think the guy that got his hand bit, even you can tell cared about the animals, was there for the right reasons. Was totally. That's the other thing too. I thought was funny. I remember I got bit by a dog once. It was a big golden retriever. And the dog got pretty violent. He bit my hand and started shaking it, like trying to rip it off type thing. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I was just so I remember I just kind of loosened my hand. I just let the dog go for it. Mm-hmm. And he bit in there pretty good and stuff. But I wasn't I wasn't mad or anything at the dog. So I was like, oh wow, I wonder if I got bit by a tiger, might be as cool as this dude. Because she was like, the tiger didn't know. He's fine. And I'm like, oh yeah,
I forgot about the other guy. He was like a white guy, but he had like an Indian name, Bhagwan or something. He rides in on an elephant all the time. Like he's got a whole other tiger camp.
Right.
His seemed to be like the most professional of the three, but even he like admitted he used it to get like young girls, like, hey, put on a bikini and get a picture.
He's a weird one. I don't think he has good intentions. I think he does. I think he probably follows whatever rules he has to.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's got good intentions at all.
Yeah. But I think it's weird. Of the three, he probably seemed like the normal.
And he's being looked
not
at
normal, like the least.
Well, he's being looked at for not the abuse of the animals, but for sexual misconduct. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of fodder for season 2 of this.
Guys, we were like, why is there season 2? And then we talk about it, and we're like, oh no, there's actually a lot.
Figured it out. Yeah.
Right.
There we go. Now we know. All right, guys, we're gonna move on real quick to our next topic.
I do just want to take a quick second to shout out
Yeah.
Netflix while we're talking about them, because Netflix did purchase the I don't know if you guys noticed, purchased the Roald Dahl whole library. So
I wonder what's gonna happen with the Wonka. That's pretty cool.
Right. They got access to Wonka. They got access to the Oompa Loompas. We're gonna get an Oompa Loompa Netflix series. Which I'm like, let's go.
Taika Waititi and Ron Johnson.
But I tell you what, I got some of these before I got. These are like, so they're like nerds, but they're like nerds that are like ever like gobstopper things or whatever. Right. Look at these little things. Like they look like
they look like them too.
Oh, and they're fire. So shout out Netflix if you want to provide me with a free box of nerds. I'll promote your Willy Wonka stuff all day long.
All day long. We will sell out.
For Willy Wonka? Bro, I'll sell my soul. Come on. A giant chocolate river and like Oompa Loompas.
I actually never had the Wonka chocolate. I know there was a brand of Wonka like chocolate.
I think Hershey's and like Roald Dahl Library team up and did like a Wonka special, like when the Johnny Depp movie came out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what were you saying, Des?
Oh, I remember the Wonka bars too, but I never got one.
I never got one either. I was always a Hershey's or a Cadbury's. I liked Cadbury's a lot. Their chocolate. But all right, let me ask you this. I know not all of you are following this, but I think, Des, you said you were following it. I've been following it. And you in the audience, even if you're not following it, we're going to go through why this has kind of captivated the country. How many of you know about Gabby Petito and her disappearance?
I don't know.
You don't know anything about this. Des, you said you've been following it too, right?
I know. It's really weird. So apparently this is probably the one thing in going on right now that we even have a friend, Matt Jarbo, that's been covering this pretty heavily, like on his shorts on Instagram and stuff. But I don't know why I've been completely out of the loop about. I know this. I know there's a girl. I know that she went missing. I know they found the body. And I know that they started a search for the boyfriend. I don't know if it's because he's dead or if it's because they think they did it. So, I literally don't know anything there.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a brief timeline. Go ahead.
Letting on.
That's the honest thing. That's all I know.
Okay, so her name is Gabby Petito. Her boyfriend's name is was it Brian Laundrie? I think. I think his name is Laundrie. Anyway, Landry or whatever. So basically, they go on a road trip. They start in Blue Point, New York, right? And this is the car they use. And as they were going, on social media, they would, take pictures and stuff like that. I think they went all the way to Utah, and they're basically doing this whole, road trip, and they're cataloging it on social media. So here's a map. I'm just going to tell you where. So they start in Utah. They go from. It starts up in Wyoming, through Utah, through Colorado, through Kansas, and all this place. All right, so whatever, not that big of a deal. So this is Gabby. My sister's first thing was like, dude, he's not even that good looking, because that's how my sister is. She's like so mean.
Oh no.
My sister's like why, So on July 5th, let me go to the first photo. The first photo was this one, July 5th. This is the one that they take in a natural landmark in Kansas. All right, everything's hunky dory. July 8th through the 11th, they were in Colorado, and they post a photo in Colorado Springs on July 8th, right? This is 8th through the 11th, all right?
Right.
And they post photos, blah, blah, blah. They share a picture of them kissing, et cetera, et cetera. So here's where things get crazy. August 12th, this is in Moab, just outside the park. They respond to so this is police body cam, a phone call regarding domestic dispute. And basically, we don't have the footage, but basically, drivers drive by and they see the boyfriend slapping the ever-living hell out of his girlfriend, right?
Oh, wow.
And the police stop them, and I mean, you can see she's very upset there. And you know, it's apparently they made a post. She said no charges were filed. So I think the police asked, "Would you like to press charges?" She said no. And on August 13th, the boyfriend posted his last Instagram photo in Utah and wrote the caption, "Humans are primates, great apes, in fact." So August 24th, another picture of her. Yeah, there we go. There's a picture of them together. This was August 30th. The girl's family, the Petito family, says they're still receiving texts for her until this date. The last text that she sent her mother said she didn't have service in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, and there's some dispute that maybe she didn't send that text.
Was it?
No, Yellowstone National Park.
Oh,
yeah, it was Yellowstone. Okay, so here we go. This is where things get crazy. September 1st, the boyfriend returns to his parents' home in Florida with the van, which is registered to her name, and has zero information about what happened to the girlfriend. There's basically like a kibosh from him and his parents. So like, we're not saying anything.
Right.
So on September 11th, the parents file a missing persons report with Suffolk County, New York. All right. Landry apparently issues a statement through his lawyer and says that there is a search for Petito is underway in Wyoming. All right. So he isn't saying anything. And the family says, the Landry family, the boyfriend's family, are saying, we're going to stay in the background of the investigation. And they're saying, the parents claim, the girl's parents, that the Landry family, more specifically the boyfriend, are refusing to tell them where he saw his last girlfriend.
What?
And then September 15th, North Point, Florida, the police say is Landry is refusing to cooperate with them.
Wow.
And they name him a person of interest.
Sure.
And then Landry's sister says, it was typical for them to get into fights and take a break from each other. September 17th, the boyfriend disappears.
Yeah.
Right. And now I know that's
missing his family after being sent on a hike. On September 18th, the FBI raided the house, to find anything. Couldn't find anything. However, they did find a photo that resembles Landry in the woods somewhere, and the FBI is searching like crazy using drones, dogs to find this guy. And then, unfortunately, people were like, "What happened to her?"
Her body was found, right?
Her body was found near the van where it was spotted late last month. And other people who do YouTubers helped with the investigation. Basically, they said, one girl said, we ran into them. We gave them a ride through the park. Another family or another couple was doing had a GoPro on their driver, and they drive right past the van. We're like, oh, this is where the van was spotted. They give that information to police. The police find the van, and they find her remains, and he is missing. And not missing.
I know this is pretty morbid and stuff, but if you don't mind, how did they say the condition of the body?
No, at least I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know. Des, did you hear? They said remains.
Wow, okay, wow.
They didn't say a body.
That's the reason I asked. That's another big determining factor, right? If she's pretty beat up and all that type of stuff, then it's kind of more towards this is a crime of passion type thing.
Yeah.
So wow, that's dear gosh, that is.
They
also found ultrasounds a mile away from her remains.
Oh, really? That I didn't know.
Know that.
Like she was pregnant.
Ooh, maybe.
So I'm confused. So somebody, which is what's up, Z Reflect? Good to see you here in the chat as always. But he said sex trafficking. That could be a factor in that. Maybe he was trying to traffic her or something.
Maybe, yeah. Apparently, they had a volatile relationship, according to her brother, or according to the boyfriend's sister.
Right.
But it's so strange that the police didn't like push harder on him. Like, obviously, dude, you're the last person to see her and you're not telling us.
Yeah,
I would imagine they were like, we're going to charge you. We're going to charge you.
If I were a police officer and the person was like, okay, you're the last known person with them, what happened? I refuse to say, okay, you're being charged. We're bringing you in. Like, that's kind of an obvious.
It might have to do with jurisdiction too. Since it happened in
Wyoming, because he got back to Florida. That's true.
Yeah,
that's why the FBI, I think, eventually got involved, because now you're crossing state lines.
Right.
But like at this point, like, okay, so they found her remains, and I'm like, and when they said the word remains, they didn't say body. I'm like, what did he do to her? Like that she was so unrecognizable. They had to do a DNA test, I think, to determine it was her.
They did.
I believe.
I think I saw that.
So like, it's not even like, oh yeah, that looks like her.
It was potentially 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, it's right, 3 weeks, and they don't even know if those texts that were sent.
Right.
I mean, you don't even know if those texts were actually sent by her. They might have been sent by the boyfriend, like, "Hey, mom and dad, everything's going great."
Right,
you know, hey, dad, you know, and the parents are like,
sucks, sorry, like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what did he think was going to happen? He's going to show up without his girlfriend and just like at least come up with a fake story, she ran off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Oh, no.
I mean,
wild.
It is scary, and not only that, but like you have to think this might have been an abusive relationship. Now that we know about the 911, the police domestic abuse, and then after that, they still took photos the next few days. He might have exerted some kind of control over her. You know, unfortunately, this is common, but like it's strange to see such a bizarre. You know, it reminds me a little bit. You guys might be too young to remember. Well, Des maybe might remember. Just because I know Des is a year younger than I am. Scott Peterson, like that missing persons case, you know, where she disappeared.
That was a big one, yeah. And Marlon, so here's the thing. From what how it was explained to him, it seems like he wasn't named a person of interest or anything until long after he was back home in Florida, you know, and all that. So you're probably right. And it seems like he wasn't necessarily leaving town when it seems he's going on a hike.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be the case. So he was never a person of interest while out of Florida.
Yeah, that is. So our producer has a theory that he might have gone off into the woods and killed himself. But I feel like they would have found him by now because they're using like the dogs. They're giving him a scent to like find him. I feel like if he was dead lying somewhere, they would have found him by now. And they're using drones and you know,
well, I mean, it could be, man. You know, there's a lot of things. Whether it's he fell down a ditch or whatever. Look, who knows? But I mean, that is probably a safe bet. Is he probably thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get caught.
Yeah,
you know, like
the whole country.
Or what if he comes by? Like, yeah, I just wasn't looking for her. You know, she's over there somewhere. But
yeah, right.
So my theory is that he probably hit her again, and it was fatal. Like when he hit her, like unfortunately this happens a lot. He hit her too hard. He's like, crap, what do I do? Dump the body, come back home, and maybe no one will suspect, you know, anything. Like, I mean, sometimes criminals, I mean, not that I'm an expert, will convince themselves of crazy ass scenarios. Like, they'll buy this, won't they? Because they buy it themselves. You know, like, I don't know, just, you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But, you know, it is a crazy story. And the reason we're bringing it up, you know, in the pop culture thing, because, like, it becomes one of those things that I think, Austin, you were saying there's no doubt they're going to make this into a movie at some point.
Oh, yeah. Everything's going to get, yeah, absolutely.
And no matter how much the author who wrote Gone Girl denies it, that case is so similar to the Scott Peterson case. You know, have you ever seen Gone Girl, Des? Oh, did we lose? I thought Des was just posing. I think we lost her. Or she's frozen. Des, if you have to just log in and log out again. But, like, there's no doubt, down to the fact they cast Ben Affleck, who looks just like Scott Peterson, you know.
I have. The movie was crazy.
Yeah, that's a mind effort.
Yeah. He's been resentenced?
Wow, will be resentenced to life in prison after death sentence was overturned. Yes.
But
wow, because I know they were going back to court about it because what was it?
Yeah.
I think it was Dateline maybe, or someone did a documentary and basically
Some
provided
podcast that
some new evidence or something. I don't know. But apparently it made the case that he may not have killed her. Like that was,
Right.
And from a documentary perspective, it's convincing. I'm not saying because, a documentary has an agenda and they're trying to,
Sure.
get you to believe something. There we go. I think Des is trying to reconnect with us because so basically it was going back to court, and Scott Peterson, who spent more than 15 years on death row in 2002, murder of his pregnant wife, will now be sentenced to life. Okay, so they overturned the death sentence. So he's resentenced, but I was wondering if he was retried because I know his friends and family have been trying to retry him. The California Supreme Court reversed Peterson's death penalty conviction, saying the trial judge made a series of clear and significant errors in jury selection that, under longstanding United States Supreme Court precedent, undermined Peterson's right to impartial jury. That I will agree with. It turns out a couple of the people, however, the court decision did not overturn the murder conviction and allowed the prosecutors to try again for the death penalty. The district attorney's office later said it had no plans to retry the death penalty phase. So they didn't overturn the conviction. Peterson claimed that Lacey was killed as she walked the couple's dog after Peterson left to go on a solo fishing trip on Christmas Eve. There we go. Des is back. Let me see. Here we go. There we go. So did you see this documentary, Des, that they did? I felt like it was last year.
Yeah, I thought it was a podcast. But yeah, they pretty much
might have been a
delved
podcast.
into.
I saw a series they did.
Yeah, like he might not have been as involved as they initially thought.
Yeah. I mean, it made a convincing case. I mean, apparently there were witnesses who saw Lacey after supposedly she had died.
Mm.
And all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, he was a jerk of a boyfriend or a husband. And felt like he might not have done it. So from our understanding is they overturned from a death conviction to a life in prison, but I know that he was trying to get it retried. Okay, his next court date is October 10th. So that would be crazy. Of this year, yeah. If they retry it and decide that another jury would decide that, you know what, there's not enough to convict him, and he might be let go. What is kind of creepy about that case with the Scott Peterson case, the girl that he was sleeping with who did not know he was married, he told like, oh yeah, my wife died and I'm single. And then his wife does actually die, which a lot of people think points to his guilt. I think that points to him being like, why would you tell someone your wife is dead and then go kill your wife? It's just one of those like
I think we've
strange coincidences.
Criminals aren't smart.
No, that's true. That's true. But do you think there's doubt that he might have done it in your opinion?
I'd have to revisit everything.
Yeah.
I know I was definitely swayed by the media when I was younger.
Same.
Think he did it beyond the shadow of a doubt, but I'd have to look at the evidence that was brought out in court and everything. And
yeah, right. I'm trying to see. I think it was on Hulu. I think whatever the documentary, it might have been after the podcast. They made a documentary. If I can find the exact documentary, Lacey Peterson, Hulu. What was it called? The Murder. Okay, it's just called The Murder of Lacey Peterson. So, like for the first half, you're like, okay, yeah, he did it, and then towards the end, they're like, okay, well, here's what the cops overlooked. And here's where the timelines don't make sense. And you're like, oh, crap, maybe he didn't do it, It's like Austin and OJ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, no, OJ definitely didn't do it. What? I'm serious. Come on, guys. I did in high school. I spent like a good year researching that trial. Specifically, and we did like the class I was in. It was a mock trial class, and so that was like the study. Of the year was the OJ case. Yeah, no, I'm convinced his son definitely killed him, and OJ took the fall.
Mm.
Yep.
Because I've heard that theory that his son, the same DNA or similar DNA.
There were two pairs of gloves bought. There was a long history, just to kind of summarize, long history of tension between the son, OJ's son, and Nicole. There's there's a lot of weird things. Obviously, the son was around when all of this happened. Also, too, you just kind of I do go based off like emotion stuff, body reactions, all that. If you notice, when OJ is in the case, convicted of not being guilty, the son is the only person in the family to have an emotional reaction. He falls to his knees and starts sobbing. Everybody else, like the wife, OJ's mother, was all like, "Yeah, we knew that." Like it was kind of like, it was a relief of the son. I think that, yeah. So I think that's my theory there.
Yeah, I mean, just it's weird. Like we talk about OJ, we talk about Lacey Peterson, and all of a sudden it seems like Gabby Petito is like the next big one. I mean, what was that girl that I don't know how she got out of jail? What the hell was her name? She had a little girl.
Oh, Casey Anthony.
And the little girl, Casey Anthony, yeah. And like even the judge was like, I don't know how that jury acquitted her. Like it was kind of obvious.
We studied that one too, and that was another. Yeah, no, that one I think she's guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she guilty. Yeah.
I remember one of the jurors, like right afterwards, said, "I voted not guilty. I didn't vote innocent." Like I think it was just there wasn't enough proof.
Right, yeah, like that she herself did it, but like that is a strange case. I mean, again, a strange case. Only in America, I feel.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre.
I mean, it's probably the only place where we would sensationalize something like that,
Yeah. Yep. You know what? Going back, sensationalism to some like now the media is more accessible. You go back throughout history, a lot of times sensationalism would make its way into literature. Austin, you're a Shakespeare fan, and Des, I know you're a librarian. Or yeah. Richard III to this day people think was like ugly and had a huge hunch because of that book. But the truth was, William Shakespeare was a huge fan of the Tudors. He was a huge fan of Elizabeth I. And so he wrote like Richard III as like this like horrible human being. I'm not saying he was a great guy or anything. I'm not sure about this story, but he didn't have like this really big hunch that he's often portrayed with. But like he was like, yeah, you know what, you bastard, you have a hunch, and this is what your personality is like, and that sort of now become history. So I mean, that's a form of sensationalism.
Was that the same Richard that they found?
I think it might be in the parking lot. Yeah, that's the same Richard III. Yeah, they found his bones.
Yeah, he did not have the hunch.
He did not have the hunch. Nope, that was just something they made up. But like even like going back, you guys have heard of the Borgias, right?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the Borgias, they made movies, television shows. Not to suggest that they weren't corrupt. The Alexander VI became Pope Alexander VI. But the whole stories about incest and all this stuff might have been written by people who didn't like them, and not that they were likable, but they were like, you know what, we hate the Borgias. I bet the son and daughter get it on with the father, and those stories would spread. And then Alexander Dumas wrote the Borgias, and he put all that stuff in, and we're just like, oh yeah, that's probably what actually happened, And again, it was like, well, how do these people know if they weren't in the Vatican that this was happening? But it could have been written by people who didn't like the Borgias, and we're just creating stories and becomes fact. And that begins. So that kind of sensationalism exists. But like now in today's media, when you have people like me and Austin on the internet talking about cases with our fake detective licenses.
Right. One of the podcasters.
The podcasters, right? Yeah.
The murder mystery podcasters.
Oh, boy. All right. So I think this is an interesting episode, Des, because we actually did not touch on Marvel, Star Wars, or DC at all.
I love it. I love that.
I loved it. That was kind of cool because we're going to go back to it next Monday.
That's crazy.
I kind of like that we just. Right. And so I think this is a good place to end it. Listen, folks, I want to thank all of you who joined us today. It was a little bit of a different episode. We talked a lot of controversy Usually we only pick one controversial topic, but I think there's so much going on in the world today that you kind of what did Gavin write? Gavin wrote, "There was once a man who lived in Vegas but was a Cowboys fan. This man's name was Austin."
That is true. That is true.
You're a Cowboys fan.
Guess what, Gavin? My Cowboys won last Sunday, okay?
Ooh.
So I would take my one win of the season.
Cowboys fan.
Yep. I'll take my
Eagles
one
fan.
win. Okay, yeah, let's go. We got the ancient rivalry here. No, I will take my one win of the season, Gavin, and I will happily have that and rejoice in my Chargers win and expect us to do terrible as usual for the rest of the season. So that's my take on that. But yeah.
All right. Go Cowboys. There we go.
Go
Go Eagles. I think they lost. They lost Monday. Tuesday. It was Monday. They lost, yeah.
Okay, I got a fun story for you. So I went to Dallas for a Cowboys-Eagles game at AT&T Stadium.
Mhm.
And I'm a
Ooh, dang.
right. I'm a very like nice, polite, personable person, and so I was sitting next to an Eagles fan, and we were having a conversation throughout the game and stuff. Really, really nice guy. And the teams were going back and forth, and one was getting a touchdown, the other, and so I'm there with my uncle. I feel like me and this guy have a great conversation. We're cool the whole game, right? It's towards the end, Cowboys make the touchdown, right? My uncle, dude, has no idea that I've made friends with this guy a little bit. Just runs around from like he's at the other end of the family too, like where he's just got to find the closest Eagle fan, and he's like, "F you, we won, yeah!" And I'm like, "What is happening?" Like, oh my gosh, it was and then that turned into a whole bunch of other, stuff and fights and entertainment going on in the stadium, but. No, I don't take football
Usually it's the opposite.
right. I don't take football that seriously, so I can still have a good time.
Yeah, I'm awful because I'm in Philly. I'm a baseball person.
Okay.
And this is very much a football town. Although it was a baseball town for a short period of time. But like when the Eagles lost, I'm like, man, that sucks. But the next day, the bar is just like, I do Quizzo, they're like, or bingo, they're like just kind of like sitting there like all mad and pissed off. And I'm like, well, the Phillies might make the playoffs, even though we're a bad team,
Hey man, the Cowboys make the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
We're still trash.
Yeah. I would like if the Phillies would at least have a winning record. I haven't had a winning record in 10 years.
Right.
All right, guys.
With the sports thing, make sure and check out Stat Daddy Podcast, cool little sports show. If you guys don't watch it, little show I produce. Stat Daddy Podcast, new episode out now. That's my plug. I'm done. Yep.
Check it out. And we show clips on Lean On Me, don't we?
I do.
We do. And what do we got coming up today's? I think we got Saturday.
We got Tadum on Saturday. We're going to be covering Tadum from Netflix. The event which they released their schedule today. There's going to be some definitely some cool stuff on there that I can't wait to cover. The Witcher, Don't Look Up, Cobra Kai, lots of fun stuff. So we will definitely be covering that.
Okay, and folks, we can find Austin at AlienLV1023. You can find me on Twitter, Jivin with Jack. Des, you're on Twitter? Do you want people to follow you? You don't have to share your Twitter. Have all these weirdos. Not you guys watching, but
I'm at Des Wallen. I barely tweet though.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't tweet. The only times I tweet is I retweet these guys. Like I myself have nothing that profound to say. If I do, I say it here. But follow Pop Culture Corner 2020 for all your pop culture needs and our skewed opinions. That'll be so this Saturday. We're covering Netflix, and we'll be back. Always check us out. We're always putting out new content. Remember, folks, we do it for you, and we do it for the culture.